Kawah Ijen. To Indonesians, the name means simply volcano crater. Plumes of foul-smelling sulfur gas rise into the air. When mixed with rainwater, droplets of burning sulfuric acid are formed. This is just one of 6 volcanoes on the Ijen Plateau in eastern Java. What makes it extraordinary is the use man has made of this inhospitable place. Pipelines are used to channel the yellowy hydrogen sulfide as it escapes from the earth. When it hits the cool air, the gas becomes liquid and then crystallizes. Sulfur is an excellent bleaching agent, used in household cleaners and in the refinement of sugar. 300 men are employed in this mine on the crater floor. Jami began working here 30 years ago when he was 12. He followed in his father's footsteps, first as a porter carrying the sulfur down the volcano. Now he heads a team of 12 diggers, the men chosen to extract the sulfur. A simple scarf does little to protect him from the gas. Jami earns 30,000 rupiah a day this way. That's around $2 and 5 times what he would earn on one of the coffee plantations in the valleys below.
Saya menjadi ketua kelompok di sini dikarenakan
I became the chief digger because I am capable and I know the site well.
Mengetahui masalah lokasi di
I make a good living from working here.
Terus saya hasil produksi tiap harinya.
We have to dig about 10 tons of sulfur a day.
Jami risks developing lung disease by working in the suffocating gas. His teeth are already rotting.
Saya kira saya memikirkan masa depan saya. Dikarenakan kan
I am worried about my
pesangon
future.
dari sini tidak mencukupi. Nanti kalau saya kurang
But if I move on to another job, I won't get enough money to grow old on.
Pesangon orang tua.
It's impossible to dodge the sulfur gas as it dances around the crater. Many men disappear into the creamy smoke for long periods of time. They emerge with bloodshot eyes and coughing. No protective masks or glasses are provided. There is some escape for the men employed to carry the sulfur out of the volcano, but theirs is just as punishing a job. They collect up loads of sulfur that usually equal their own body weight. In the face of these stinging conditions, the men work for 8 hours a day, 6.5 days a week, during a 2-week stretch. Ahmad Safi, who's 22, is employed as a carrier. He's one of the youngest on site. He left his last job on a plantation because it didn't pay enough to support his wife and young daughter. Twice, sometimes 3 times a day, he sets off with a load of sulfur. Ahmed carries about 60 kilos a time. That's about what he weighs. Getting the load equally distributed across his shoulders is crucial. It's a tortuous climb out of the crater. Small wonder that most carriers develop chronic knee problems from this journey. Many are barely able to walk in later life. They've only the most basic footwear with which to negotiate the stony path. It's poverty and the shortage of other work that drives them on. Once the carriers reach the volcano rim, there's a further 3 kilometers descent on foot down the side of the mountain. All around, dead and dying vegetation shows the impact of the sulfur around the summit. Halfway down the volcano, the greenery returns. The rights to mine the volcano are held by the Indonesian company PT Brimbi. It pays each man according to how much sulfur he collects. An average haul, that's between 70 and 80 kilos, will earn the carriers less than $1. Some of that money will go towards one of their few luxuries, smoking. At the weigh station, the site manager records what each man has managed on the trip down. This carrier has hauled a maximum of any man on the mountain, 100 kilos. He will go on to make a further 2 trips back to the crater. But not before collecting the all-important receipt with which to claim his earnings. Ahmed's baskets won't tip the scales. He'll make up for carrying less by making as many daily journeys as he's physically able. His hope is one day to save enough money to buy some land to farm. Ahmed left school when he was 12. His father, a coffee worker, couldn't afford to pay for his education. Ahmed can't read or write and has little hope of finding a better paid job. He must learn to bear the conditions.
The chest burns and eyes sting in the sulphur. You cough and vomit. It is really hard work. I go step by step to the top, even if my lungs hurt. When I reach the top of the crater, it is easy to go down. It's not good for the lungs and my eyes are weak. Sometimes I choke and get stomachache.
During their 2-week shifts, the men sleep in wooden huts at the weighing station. At night, the temperature on the mountain drops and there are a few blankets to keep out the cold. The men get up at around 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning in order to be in the crater to start work at first light. They have one afternoon off a week to rest, on Friday, the day of prayer for Muslims. In spite or because of the conditions in which they work, there's tremendous camaraderie among the men. Jami returns to his home in the foothills of the Ijen Plateau. He hopes to rear his own livestock here when he eventually retires. Until then, as for all his married life, he goes back to his family when he has completed his shifts. His wife Rama and son Irfan carry on with jobs like collecting the fuel during his absence. Jami sends his other son away to school, though it costs the family half its monthly income. Undaunted, Rama and Jami also want to send 16-year-old Irfan to high school in the hope he can become an engineer. That is something that most families in this farming village can't hope to emulate. But such ambition comes at a price. Jami's work is hazardous. He's obliged to have a checkup with the mining company's doctor every 15 days to assess the state of his lungs. There's little the medical profession can do once the sulfur gas has done its worst. Jami puts his faith in a herbal remedy mixed with a fizzy drink. But there's little chance to prevent the deterioration in his lungs. Some men work in the enveloping sulfur gas well into their 70s. Others are forced into retirement, their health broken. Government regulations mean the sulfur workers have 2 weeks off after each 2-week shift in the hope the break will offer them some protection. And the company pays sick leave for those unable to work because of ill health. But the sulfur workers say the compensation isn't enough. Yet most of the men are resistant to the site becoming mechanized or seeing the reintroduction of horses on the route. They're too fearful of losing their jobs. Jami is set to continue leading his team of miners for many more years, if he's able. And though he followed members of his family into the sulfur business, he hopes the tradition will end with him.
Kalau putra saya jangan sampai kerja di sini.
I don't want my sons to work here because it is very heavy work. I've asked them to go to school and get a good education so they can have a better life.
Sulfur is a valuable commodity. The 100 tons or so extracted every week is transported to factories across Indonesia. With the country's economy crippled by recession and political upheaval, there will be little impetus to change working conditions here. The sulfur collectors of Kawah Ijen value their jobs too highly to complain. They will continue with their back-breaking work in a unique mine over 2,000 meters above sea level next to the turquoise sulfur lake.